Focus asked for feedback. All right, so apparently through social media, the devs have been looking for feedback, which I think is very interesting. I mean, obviously we have given a lot of feedback for this game, so it definitely makes me kind of question the intentions for this survey. I will definitely take a quick look at it. I actually already did look at a couple of questions. It did seem like there were some PvP questions, and I was looking through some comments to see if, you know, anybody had a good idea on what this survey could be trying to achieve. And yes, seemingly, a lot of people think the survey is actually for Space Marine 3. Now, right here it does say we're looking for your feedback regarding Space Marine 2. So let's take a look at the survey. Let's hope it is definitely staying on topic for the things that we need fixed for Space Marine 2. I'm really hoping this survey is not just an attempt to, you know, save face a little bit, but regardless, I think right now we're in a pretty good spot in the game. There's only been like one or two things that people have an issue with, you know, but potentially, people might have an issue with, you know, the contested health changes coming down the line. And that's really what I thought the survey was about. I thought the survey was going to be a more detailed explanation of what the devs are looking to accomplish for the contested health changes if they decide to do anything like that. However, I did take a look at the poll. It seems like the poll's actually on the side of no changes, so that's kind of an interesting way to look at that. So yeah, not only do we have a poll to keep track of, now we also have a dev sponsored, I guess. No, this video is not sponsored by this, by the way, just to be clear, but like the devs are looking for feedback, and I guess a survey is a pretty good way to do that. So yeah, let's take a look at the survey. Let's see if there's anything here that is concerning, or if there's anything here that's actually really good. What aspects of Space Marine 2 makes you want to keep playing? Okay, so as you can see, I pretty much checkboxed everything here besides nostalgia, because this is definitely my introduction to Warhammer. But yeah, this is actually a pretty good question. I think some of the questions in the survey weren't very good. Like, some of them are asking if you played PvP with friends or whatever. So yeah, we're gonna take a look. I'm gonna actually, you know, pick out the good questions. I'll cover them. But it is pretty interesting. This survey is definitely looking towards the future, I think, because they do ask a lot of questions about, like, have you been enjoying multiplayer? Like, what have you been enjoying about multiplayer? And, you know, actually asking what you would improve with multiplayer as well. So I feel like a lot of these questions are definitely trying to build up. It doesn't feel like any of these questions are really concerned about Space Marine 2. It feels like they're more concerned about Space Marine 3, as far as the pacing, essentially. Like, they're very they're very interested in how you feel about the future of Space Marine 2, Space Marine 3. I mean, dude, to be completely honest, it's actually a pretty good sign for future updates for Space Marine 2 as well. But hey, we will see. Let's keep going through the survey to see if there's anything concerning here. But so far, I think this is actually pretty per the course. Have you heard of Space Marine 3? Yes. Have you heard about, how have you heard about Space Marine 3? From you guys through social media. I haven't heard of Space Marine 3 through social media. How interested are you in Space Marine 3? Very interested. Yeah, definitely. Thinking about Space Marine 2, what would you make? Wait, hold on. Thinking about Space Marine 2, what would make you want to play or not play a future Space Marine game even more? I don't really have an answer to this. Like, dude, what? What would make me not want to play Space Marine 3? I don't know. Just don't say anything cringy on social media. I don't know, man. Like, dude, honestly, I'd still play Space Marine 3 even if the devs came out and said they were like furries or something. I don't know. Based on the experience with Space Marine 2. Also, by the way, the devs did not say that. That is a joke, just for some people who are, you know, that might go over their head a bit. Based on your experience with Space Marine 2, are there any specific new features or improvements you would prioritize for Space Marine 3? Ooh, what do you guys think here? I'll put the link. I'll put the link to the survey in the description, obviously. Is there anything that comes to mind here? Like, dude, honestly, like, I'm not 100% sure, to be completely honest. I think they just need to improve what we have in Space Marine 2. But anything specific? I'm not 100% sure, to be completely honest. Open world campaign? Maybe? I don't know. That's the only thing that can come to mind. I mean, for the campaign, that's fine. For operations, no, of course not. But for the campaign, I think that should be okay. But it would also kind of like make the story worse, so maybe not. Keep the story good and make it better. That's genuinely a terrible response here, but whatever, man. Yeah. As far as Space Marine 3, like, I don't know. Just improve the mechanics from 2. Game's good. Make it better. If possible. That's the only thing I can really say, dude. What would be the most important factor in your decision to play Space Marine 3? Oh, sheesh, man. I'm not 100% sure. Not even new gameplay mechanics, more customization options, improved performance, loyalty to the franchise, story continuation, improved graphics. I mean, price is a factor, but it's not like they're gonna listen to us on this one anyway. Strong PvP offerings. I'm gonna say this because I do think PvP could definitely get improved. Dude, yeah, I should have put the leaderboard idea in the PvP section, right? Post-launch content plan, playing with friends, reviews, ratings. I mean, dude, with my friends nowadays, like they'll play a game for like a week and then move on to the new game. You know, I honestly. It really can kind of ruin my enjoyment for certain games if I move on too fast. But as far as Space Marine 2 and like games I'm actually committed to playing, yeah, sometimes my friends just move on to the next thing. So I will be here playing Space Marine 2, maybe Space Marine 3 alone, but we will see. We will see. I know I have you guys. Don't worry about that. That's such a funny way to put that. But yeah, no, seriously, I know that my friends enjoy new games, so whenever a new game's out, they play it and then kind of don't beat games because of that, which is unfortunate. Thank you very much for having completed this survey. Don't forget to press send. Okay, cool. Wait, it says submit. It doesn't say send, it says submit. There's no send here. I can't even press send. All right, so this was a pretty, honestly, as a survey, this was fine. I think it's pretty interesting that the devs actually wanted to do this, so I just filled it out really quick. Obviously, there were some personal questions about like where I'm from and everything. Of course, I'm not going to show you guys that, but the beginning of the survey really does ask a lot about like what you enjoyed about PvE operations and PvP. So it does seem pretty basic, but it is pretty interesting that they were actually curious to see if people heard about Space Marine 3. So I feel like the survey was definitely it definitely gauged the expectations and the interest of Space Marine 3. I feel like more than anything, I really don't know if anything in the survey is actually going to improve Space Marine 2. So I really hope it does. But honestly, the questions were pretty basic. The only questions that I felt like weren't basic were the Space Marine 3 ones for the most part. But yeah, let's go in the comments to see how people feel about this one. Let me put the helmets on my bot teammates, please. Let me pick my bot teammates for Operations and Siege. Let me determine the equipment loadouts for my bot teammates in Operations and Siege. Let me set the color scheme for my bot teammates for Operations and Siege. Let me have an emblem editing tool. Let me have more standard armor pieces without them all being so busy they can't display chapter icons, please. These are the main things I put in the section at the end where it asks us what we would like for the next game. Dude, all of those are good suggestions. I don't really see a reason why we can't have customized bots in Space Marine 2. You know what I mean? This is the only thing about the survey that kind of is confusing. Like, this could definitely be applied for Space Marine 2. Not everything here, but like some of the stuff here, for sure. Like, dude, Bonds of Brotherhood works with bots. Like, I don't understand why that isn't the case for all the other perks. You know what I mean? Or at the very least, we could give bots team perks or something. I do think customizing bots is just a fun idea, like, to be completely honest. I really do. But I do understand where it's not like a priority for Space Marine 2, since most of the time we're playing with randoms anyway. And then even if you're playing solo now, you're probably just gonna go for true solo anyway. Like, playing with bots is fun, but I feel like playing with bots is more of an offline thing. So I do understand where this could be a Space Marine 3 suggestion, but at the same time, it's like, if they didn't prioritize it for 2, is Space Marine 3 for whatever reason going to be more offline? I doubt it. If they take any feedback seriously, one thing I want them to do is to take their time with Space Marine 3. Don't let greed or Games Workshop rush it out. Space Marine 3 needs to launch bigger and better than this game ever did. Solid servers, tons of customization, including marine creation, and if they want to bring Siege back, it should be there on launch. I mean, dude, obviously Siege mode, like, dude, can people just agree? Like, can we all agree? Siege Mode needed time. Like, it definitely did not release on launch. It would not have been ready on launch, but it didn't even release on its own, on its own time super well. Like, performance for Siege Mode when it actually launched was not great. I don't understand why people are like, oh man, we had to wait for Siege Mode. That was lame. It's like, bro, it would have been way worse if it did. Like, dude, sometimes you just have to be patient for these things, man. I do agree with not rushing out Space Marine 3. I get that. But then at the same time, they're sitting here and asking for Siege Mode to be rushed. This, man, surveys, dude, they probably have a lot of interesting answers like this. But yeah, dude, look, I understand their concerns here, and I think they're valid. But saying, hey, don't let Greed or Games Workshop rush Space Marine 3, while also saying if they want to bring back Siege Mode, bring it back on launch 10 months after, was lame. That is contradictions. Those are contradictions. They dropped World War Z original Horde mode about 8 months after launch, and even though it didn't have much at the time, it still had more to do than siege, traps, checkpoints, defending airport, etc. Bro, what? We might need to talk about Siege Mode, man, because these things don't seem like game changers. I'm sorry, but like if they add in traps, Siege Mode is not all of a sudden way better. It's just, there's just traps now. And we still have traps. We have meltas and shock grenades. Ugh, I don't know. Again, I understand the concerns of at least Space Marine 3, but as far as Siege Mode, it's like, dude, this is what we have. Like, you have to either appreciate it, or if you dislike it, don't try to pretend that, like, adding traps somehow makes you like the mode more, because it won't. You will, if you don't like Siege Mode now, adding traps isn't going to change your opinion of it. Plus, they've constantly improved Horde Mode, which then became Horde Mode XL over 5 years, and Siege had none of those innovations they made. Well, I guess that's, they're probably going to work on that, hopefully. Maybe in the survey, at the very least, just add in, hey, man, update Siege Mode with a new map or something, new enemies, over time. That would be cool. I agree with that. That's fair. I think it's not fair to be like, hey, take your time on Space Marine 3, but Siege Mode should have been in on launch of Space Marine 2, and it should have came out broken. Like, bro, if you're telling them to take time for Space Marine 3, bro, you can wait a little bit for Siege Mode to improve. Like, are you kidding me? Lol. This is just more confirmation they are abandoning ship and jumping on the next one already. Pathetic. So I've seen a few of these comments, nothing really worth pointing out though. I think the one that was worth pointing out, I kind of mentioned at the beginning, where people were concerned about the amount of Space Marine 3 questions, which this comment definitely piggybacks off of, but also says that they are doubling down on Space Marine 3 and going to abandon Space Marine 2, which we all know that is not the case. They announced Year 2 content. We at least have 3 operations to get added into the game, which will be coming out in Year 2, I assume. Not to mention champion skins, I imagine. A full year of champion skins. I really don't see them. I think they're juggling. I don't think they're abandoning. I think they're juggling. They're definitely working on Space Marine 3, while also working on Space Marine 2. Yes, Space Marine 3. No, seriously though, Space Marine 2 still has Year 2 content. They're probably working on that. Space Marine 3 probably is not coming out anytime soon. So I do think they're definitely, laying the groundwork for Space Marine 3. They're obviously very interested in working on Space Marine 3, considering the amount of Space Marine 3 questions we got in the survey. However, I really don't think they're abandoning ship and jumping onto the next one. I really don't. Also, if that is the case, that means the next one's coming out sooner, which I guess you can look at that as a good thing, but ultimately I would like to see Space Marine 2 finally fully realized, and I think at the end of Year 2 for Space Marine 2, there may be more requests for content just because people are enjoying the game. So we will see, because if at the end of Year 2, Space Marine 3 is still 5 years away, I really don't see them abandoning Space Marine 2 for Year 3. In Year 3, they might even sprinkle in some content. We will see. A lot of this stuff really, we don't really know what's down the line for this game. A lot of stuff can go wrong. A lot of stuff can go right. Who knows? But ultimately, I don't see them abandoning Space Marine 2. I don't see them jumping ship onto the next one. I just don't see that happening. But yeah, we will see. We will see. But yeah, I just wanted to showcase the survey a bit. Obviously, people were concerned about the amount of questions that were focused on Space Marine 3, which is fair, but it was really just, I feel like they were just gauging expectations a bit, you know, at least gauging the interest of Space Marine 3, because I imagine if there's a lot of people more interested in Space Marine 3 than there were people who want improvements for Space Marine 2, yeah, maybe they do jump on to the next one, maybe, but I still don't see that being the case, considering we do have Year 2 content. So yeah, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this. Let me know in the comments if you filled out the survey. But yeah, I'll leave a link to it in my description. And yeah, let me know if you guys have any any concerns for the survey yourself. But yeah, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this. And thanks for watching.